Hey there, welcome. How are you today? My name is Dana Demara, and welcome to your full moon report. This is what I call Astrocast, your astrological forecast for the upcoming full moon. Oh, this is a good one. There's a lot of information that I want to try to get in like 20 minutes. So hang with me for a little bit here as we go over it. Just overall, I want to right away tell you what the theme of this full moon is, and then I'm going to get into the aspects, okay? So you can kind of have a idea of this energy. And the theme, in my humble opinion, is surrender. And few reasons for that. One is that Scorpio is the sign of surrender. Scorpio goes to the depths. Scorpio is about transformation. And I'll talk a little bit about the aspects, but when we fight that transformation, when we fight those shifts, and there's Uranus is in there too, um, we end up just like climbing uphill. And when we surrender, things really kind of level out in a way that, God, source, the universe, the divine starts applauding. Yay, yay, you surrendered, you let me do it. And something I want to share with you before I drop in, I'm going to share my screen because there's a lot of aspects with this full moon. Something I want to share with you that I don't even remember who it was that said it to me, but they said, I always think about, the day when I pass over into another realm, if I go to this, God in the sky or this light or whatever, I just don't ever want that feeling of like, why didn't you listen to me? Why didn't you just surrender? I kept sending you all of these, beautiful signs and you just felt like you knew more than me. And I think about my younger self and I think, wow, that was really me. I was always like fighting the obvious, right? Instead of just surrendering. And something I want to say about surrender with this full moon is that surrender isn't giving up. Surrender is knowing that you've done like everything possible and you're allowing this universal life force to show you what's next. So, with that, I'm going to show you the screen for the full moon. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and give you all the details. It's so awesome. I'm going to make it as big as I can for you. I hope you can see this. It's super big. It's big on my end, but I still need my glasses. And then everything just looks so much better. Okay, so this is a full moon in Scorpio, and I'm just going to show you. Here's the moon. It's in Scorpio. Um, all these aspects that I want to share with you, I'm going to point them out. And the first thing I want to show you is that there's all those red lines. Okay, so when we have a lot of red lines on an astrological chart, basically we're talking about a lot of disharmonious aspects. Now, that doesn't mean negative, it doesn't mean things are bad, it just means that there's opportunities for change. And when the sun or when the moon is full, it's opposite the sun. So if you drew a line, there it is, bam, right across from the sun, 7 degrees. But I want you to look at all those other planets sitting there in Taurus. So you have the sun, Uranus, Venus, and Mercury all like huddled together. And the important thing to note is that you've got Uranus, Venus, and Mercury. I think I just want to look over here. Yeah, 16, 15, 10 degrees. So, the sun isn't technically conjunct to Mercury, but it's darn close enough to count it as a, as a conjunct. So really you don't have the moon just opposite the sun, but you have the moon opposite Uranus, you have the moon opposite Venus, you have the moon opposite Mercury, okay? And then you also have uh, Mercury conjunct Venus, Mercury conjunct Uranus, Venus conjunct Uranus, Mercury conjunct Sun. Like, you get what I'm saying. And when you have four planets in one sign, that's called a stellium. So it's huge, okay? So before you kind of go, oh my God, now what? Let me just back up and tell you that we also have this beautiful trine to Mars. So you see Mars up here in Cancer. And then if you drew a line here, you see Jupiter in Aquarius. You get like that feeling. And then the moon over here. So it's creating a grand trine, okay? And it's awesome because that will cool off everything I'm about to tell you. Okay, so I'm gonna, well, and then one more thing, and I'll keep coming back and forth to this, and I'm gonna really try to stay on point. I'm watching my time, okay? Uh, you have Saturn here, and Saturn is at 12 degrees, and so Saturn is also square to the moon within a 5-degree orb, and then you have Saturn over here squaring the sun. But remember, it's not just squaring the sun, it's also squaring Uranus and it's squaring Venus and it's squaring Mercury. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those things. And just so you know, so you understand, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter were all the big players of 2020. And Saturn is the planet of restriction. It's the planet of karma. It's the planet of like responsibility, like the get your shit together planet. And if you don't have your shit together, Saturn is like, no, do over. That's why people like to know when their Saturn return is, because um, it's an important, it's not a aspect to be feared, you know, it's more of like a checkpoint, right? So with Saturn creating this square to the moon and creating a square to all these other planets, there will definitely be issues regarding limitations, restrictions, like I'll go over it with you. Again, I don't want to go over, I don't want to like, I want to try to stay on it. I actually had to write things out this time because there's so many aspects, and I want to make sure I get as many as I can in this report. So first thing I want to say for notation time is that if you live in the Pacific, along the Pacific coast of America, you will experience this full moon on April 26th, which is Monday, at 8:31 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, because the moon is opposite Uranus, remember I told you it's pretty much within 3 degrees of Uranus. Um, this moon is going to relate to unexpected changes, breakthroughs, breakdown, break up. It could be rebelliousness, it could be miracles happening, it could be sudden changes. Uranus is the planet of the higher mind, so you could have some epic idea come to you and be like, wow, why didn't I think of that before? You could also have some unexpected change come in, you know? So again, this all depends upon where you're at in your life and how you're going to interpret it. But trust me when I say that Uranus is the planet of change and higher minds. So be open to new ideas. Okay. Um, Scorpio is about empowerment. Scorpio wants you to, you know, Scorpio's quick wit. Scorpio's no bullshit. Scorpio says it like it is. Um, Scorpio goes to the depths. So there's this like deep wisdom and intuitive knowledge, and it'll go to the heart of the matter. Scorpio, I have a couple of Scorpio friends, and we never have small talk ever. It's always like right to the point. What's going on? How are you? Scorpios are deep, and they're deep thinkers, and they're deep speakers. My daughter is a Scorpio moon. I'm like, hey, this full moon's in your sign. Yay, you know? So know that that Scorpio energy is about going to the heart and the truth of the matter, whatever the matter is. So you could have deep, profound, intuitive insights during this full moon. Um, if you've been kind of skimming the surface of something, whether it's a relationship or an idea or whatever, right? If you've been kind of on the surface, this moon will potentially go, let's go, and take you down into the depths of it. And trust me when I say that you want that if you're refining yourself as a human, right? So sometimes we fight those changes, but it's never good to fight those changes because they just come back around again. Um, Scorpio purges. Scorpio will take you to the depths and bring things up for you to see in a way that is much more revealing than either you want or that you would have seen last week, last year, last month, last life. Um, Scorpio is a little bit more passionate and a little bit more sensual around ideas. So And that's not to be misconstrued as sexual. When I say sensual, it's like appealing to the senses. So if if I'm appealing to some sensual uh, aspect, if I'm even saying like, wow, I feel this, in my heart, a Scorpio is going to be like, I feel it in my heart and it feels like this, or they're going to be able to use their senses at a deeper layer than you will. So understand that that's what this full moon is. And because it's across from Venus, Mercury, um, Uranus, all in Taurus, you're talking about home, hearth, and even more sensuality. You're talking about love, finances, money owed to you, sexuality. You're talking about communication. You're talking about lower mind. You're talking about day to day. You're talking about so much because of all those planets that are in Taurus. And because there's also that T square with Saturn. So then there's restriction. So it's a slightly volatile full moon. It's a slightly volatile full moon. So I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I just want to keep with the thought. So the thought is this: try to stay out of um, conversations or situations that are aggressive, that are triggering, that um, kind of sting at your something emotional. And I'm not saying like avoid and run the other way, but what I am saying is notice if that happens to you, and if you're feeling that, and if you can in that moment, ask for a pause, ask for a timeout, ask for like, hey, can I just take a sec? See if you can kind of go deep into whatever that is, that trigger is, because that's where the gift is. That's where the pearl is. That's what Scorpio does. It's like Kali. Scorpio is like, let's just go to the depths so we can just talk about this. I just want the truth. That's all I want. I just want the truth. I don't want you to live from a place that isn't truthful anymore. And so just take that pause before you maybe follow a trajectory of a response or a reaction, or you continue to do the same thing over and over that doesn't work. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So guard against aggressive people or situations for sure. And remember, I have so many notes, and I'm just gonna kind of skim through them. I can barely even read them actually. They're in like hieroglyphics called my handwriting. Um, Scorpio intensifies everything. It uncovers the truth, it observes everything, and then it will Scorpio moves with intuition. Scorpio doesn't move with logic. So Capricorn, right? So I'm going to give you an example. Capricorn is logic. Capricorn is, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to commit to it. And we're going to do this for 6 months. Scorpio is like, I'm not feeling it. Intuitively, we need to go that way. And you need to trust me because I'm super connected to the divine. And then Scorpio goes, and Scorpio will go with or without you. And you can either get on that train of your intuition and drop in and go, maybe this spreadsheet that I've been living by doesn't really work for me anymore. Maybe my intuition has been kind of like gnawing at me, and now it's time to listen to my intuition. Here's my second um, invitation. The second invitation is to understand, is it ego that you're listening to, or is it soul? Because if it's your ego, you're going to go down a same path. And this is where it gets a little tricky. So, invitation, more meditation, more pause, more rest, less like reactionary things. And now, I don't know where you are in the world, but where I am in the world, things are opening up. And I mean, yesterday I was out all day running errands, going here, going there, went for coffee, right? And I was exhausted at the end of the day. And I thought, well, this is like the most amount of people I've seen in like a year. So be mindful of that too, because that will hit your senses too, right? When you start communicating in a different way and connecting again. I'm not saying avoid it, I'm just saying be super mindful on what that does to your body, okay? All right, so I hit all that. I'm going to come back to this note. This is a great note to come to at the end. The other thing I want to say, I'm going to go back to the screen just so I can remind you. Okay, so I want you to take a moment and focus a little bit on Saturn. Okay, so Saturn is in Aquarius, finally. Jupiter's in Aquarius now, and it's making this T square to this full moon. So it's making a square to the moon and to the sun, but also to Uranus, Venus, and Mercury. So that's what I want to talk about here. So um, Saturn Saturn is the rule maker. Saturn is the lord of time, the lord of karma, Kronos. Saturn is the gatekeeper. Saturn knows everything. Um, I've been watching the Avenger movies, and Saturn. I picture Saturn like Heimdall. I don't know if you've seen any of these Avenger movies, but it's in the Thor movies. And Heimdall says that he sees like, you know, 180,000 souls at one time or something, and he like knows all, like he knows what's going on. That's Saturn. Saturn, in my mind, is like knows from an intuitive place what all of our karma is and how Saturn does try to guide us in the direction to kind of work through that karma. But when we're not listening, Saturn's like, come on, I have like told you a bazillion times you're not listening, right? So Saturn is also square to Uranus, and this is where I want to say this. Uranus is also the ruler of Aquarius, okay? And Venus and Mercury are also sitting right there, okay? So this is intense. Saturn, with those 4 planets in Taurus, are asking you to commit to acting on what is coming up for the surface. So remember when I said Scorpio is going to bring something up, potentially? Saturn is like, it's time. Let's focus on this. And if you didn't work through anything, say last year or last month or whatever, or maybe you glossed over something, it's going to come up. And Saturn is asking you to work through this. Um, the reason why Saturn is so strict is because Saturn is only interested in your growth. Saturn is interested in you, you know, living your best life and then going on to the next life, if that's what you believe, with this clear slate, right? So if you can avoid confrontation, avoid aggressive attitude, stay out of your ego. This is going to be an amazing opportunity for you to ignite your creativity. And part of that's because of Mars, but I'll get to that in a second. Okay. So this is an incredible opportunity for you to kind of clear through that karma, kind of take accountability for whatever it is that you have going on. And then Uranus is going to help you, can help you break through those places in your life where you have been stuck or stagnant or aloof or avoidant, right? So these things where you haven't really been in a place to take on, right? So this energy is saying, yeah, I'm going to show you something, and I promise you I will hold your hand while you do this, but you've got to take some responsibility and commit to the process. This is where that word surrender comes in, right? It's just surrender, like, okay, it's time. We're going to do this thing now. So Mercury square Saturn's, this is the deal with Mercury square Saturn. So when Mercury square Saturn, it makes it a little bit more challenging for you to communicate your ideas because you're either trying to rework maybe some negative thinking or some self-doubt in your own mind. You're trying to navigate through like maybe what other people are saying or what other people are doing. You're in comparison. So there's this like duality of the truth and the illusion. And with Saturn squaring Mercury, it makes it challenging to really see or feel into what's going to be supportive for you. So again, go back to what I said earlier. Don't rely on the voice of others. Don't rely on that negative loop in your mind. Rely on your intuition. pray, meditate, practice, breathe, all the things. Okay. Um, Venus square Saturn, so Venus is love, money, value. Okay. When Venus squares Saturn, it creates a little bit of a restriction in those areas of your life. But remember, the restriction of the tension is created to refine your outlook, right? So um, it may make it more challenging for you, say, to be vulnerable. It may make it more challenging for you to share. It may make it more challenging for you to make a decision about an investment or what to do with your money or whatever. It's going to it can potentially make you feel that way. So what I would say to that is to remember the idea of abundance. We have everything we need. Anything that comes up in a relationship is coming up because it wants refinement and clarity. And so just allow that practice to come in through your meditation and your prayer. And you could also hide out for like a week and then let everything blow over. That would be an option too. And then let's just look at the sun conjunct Uranus for a minute. So, actually, let me go back one thing. Saturn conjunct Uranus, okay, is the aspect of the year. So on June 4th, I believe it will be exact again. I think I'm right. But Saturn will continually be in an orbit that's close enough to Uranus to say this is the aspect of the year, because they're going to be dancing within 90 degrees of each other all year long. And Saturn is restriction, Uranus is breakthrough. So they're complete opposites, and they're going to be continually questioning what you believe holds you back. It's going to be questioning the systems that we have running in our United States. Um, it's going to be consistently pushing us toward a more innovative way of doing things, right? So whenever you think about Saturn and Uranus, it's breakthroughs meets restrictions. I have this great idea. No. But I have a no. But I have a no. Oh, I can't do it now, right? That was kind of a weird little puppet show, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's this idea of running up against your patterns, right? Maybe you have a looped thought about your sense of self-worth. I'm not worth it. I don't have enough. There's not enough. Uranus is like, yeah, you do. Let me show you. That Saturn in you is going to be like, no, I don't. Uranus is like, come on, aren't you seeing this? Like, let's get a move on. Let's get a breakthrough here. There's going to be that consistent test, if you will, throughout the whole year. And I like to think of those tests like this. When we meet these tests, we are offered an opportunity to elevate the way we think, the way we speak, and the way we act. So it's asking us over and over again, each time it comes to us, are you prepared for what's next? And sooner or later, the test won't bother you and you won't even notice it, and that means you passed. All right, I'm going to share my screen one more time. Oh, goodness gracious. Yes. So the moon and the sun both square Saturn. So when the moon squares Saturn, it's the moon is emotion, the moon is the feminine. The moon square Saturn gives you that opportunity. No, not opportunity, gives you that feeling of accomplishment when you are in seclusion, like when you're working on something by yourself. You have this ability to be clear and honest about your feelings, about, you don't have to worry about anybody else. You're just in your space, right? And when the sun squares Saturn, more boundaries. It allows you to get clear on your priorities. It asks you to commit to the things that you desire, right? And it also will encourage you not to procrastinate. Okay, so if you're a procrastinator, you got to stop that. Okay, it really does have like this. I don't like to use the word depressing, but when I think of the word depressing, I want you to think of like It's like, it makes it smaller. So it creates this, it's a restricting influence on your feelings or your relationships. So it's like you want to say how you feel, you want to be vulnerable, but it becomes harder to say how you're feeling, especially with Mercury sitting there. So, and remember, if this is happening for you, this is happening for other people too. So the best thing to do is be like kind to yourself and kind to other people. And maybe if the conversation that you need to have with somebody, if it's not coming out right and it's creating more issues, then maybe just shelf it for a few days till after the full moon when you can get more clear about what it is that you want to say, right? So that's actually the hard part about this full moon, is that there's part of this energy that's like, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's kind of accept what's next. Let's move into this new realm. But then there's also this like, but hold on a minute. Don't react. Don't react. That's the word. Stay out of this, argument, if you will, but be instead in a place of just kind of being with the tumultuous time, right? And don't make any rash decisions about anything. Just really try not to make any rash decisions, especially if you're like overexcited, over angry, confused. Mm-mm. Journal or whatever you do to kind of make sense of things. Okay. Um, and then I want to go to that trine. So let me show you where that trine was again, because the trine actually kind of mellows things out. And so see how this trine, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, it's like, it's such a great feeling. And again, they're not at exact uh, degrees, but they're close enough to count as a trine. And see how those lines are blue? Blue is harmonious. So blue is like, we want blue. We want blue in our chart for sure. Um, so it Mars is the initiator, Jupiter is expansion, Mars is the warrior, Jupiter's wisdom. And so those planets trining the moon, it illuminates those qualities. And so it gives you maybe courage to do something that you didn't think you could do, or the strength to do something that you didn't think you could do. But slash and remember, don't react harshly or aggressively or without dropping into that Scorpio intuition. Do that first, okay? Um, and then you can count on good judgment, because why? Because of where Jupiter is. So Jupiter's going to instill that wisdom and that knowledge, right? If you do what? Meditate, pray, connect, that kind of thing. Okay. So this full moon trining Mars is like, it's such a beautiful aspect because it's helping to dissipate that T square, that like that Saturn and Uranus and Saturn is like a little feisty little guy right now, and he's just wanting everybody to get to the root of their issues. And sometimes it takes people longer than others. So but Saturn's really trying to create a little bit of a party here, and this Mars aspect really helps to dissipate that tension, and it gives you the desire to move forward, and again, drop into that intuition, because when you drop into that intuition and we surrender, we understand that things are going to work out perfectly. We don't even have to worry about anything, because we know that we've done everything that we can to um, take care of our business, clean up our messes, so to speak. Um, we've been kind, we've done what we can. And if we can really sit in that, if we can really, I'm going to stop share. If we can really sit in that truth of like, I've done everything I can, and I, God, is there anything else I can do? Show me, when we do that, when we really acknowledge that we're doing the best that we can, we will be rewarded. And that's not why we're doing it, but we will be rewarded with these flashes of insight, reminding us that we're just in the flow. We're just inhabiting this like human body to like be a conduit for source. So just be in the flow and surrender and try to be nice and stay out of arguments with people. And, you know, your wisdom will come through a little bit deeper. That excitement for life will come through a little bit more. Um, and focus on, with this full moon, focus on something new. Focus on something that maybe you hadn't even thought of until now. It's come up for you. You know, really, really begin to be open to some unexpected um, miracle to come through for you. And I don't know what's going on in your life. I have no idea because obviously I'm just trying to keep up with mine, you know, but what I will say is that we're in a really, really powerful time on the planet. And this full moon Scorpio is really asking you trust, to trust that there is a higher power, to trust that you are a part of the cosmos, to trust that if you stay patient and committed and you know, out of your ego and persistent to, you know, your goals and your journey, and you stay out of those loops of, you know, comparison and um, jealousy or envy or fear, you know, you'll be moving along the trajectory of source. And um, sometimes when we hear the truth about something, and this is going back to Scorpio, sometimes when we hear like that stinger of truth from Scorpio, it stings. And so then we avoid it and then it comes back. But let's say you hear it now, sit in it for a minute, allow yourself to be consistent, persistent, committed, and patient while you make the changes that you need to make. And that is what will be the key to, you know, your refinement. And so this full moon will bring up this these situations for you that will trigger your ego potentially, and you know, you'll, that can't be me. I can't, I'm not like that, you know, or whatever it is, whatever, I have no idea what it is for you, but I'm just trying to explain it to you. Your ego will be triggered, and then your ego will go, no, no, that's not it. But if you feel that during the full moon, just go, okay, all right, I'll sit with this for a sec, because that's going to be the key to getting to that other side of awareness and getting deeper into alignment with God, with source, with your passions and your dreams. And this moment, this full moon, is actually a really beautiful, um, if you've been doing the work over the last year, you will, it'll be, it'll almost like come to you and you'll go, oh, oh, that old thing. Okay, I totally get it. Yep, this must be the completion. Okay. And there won't be a trigger because you've been triggered all freaking year on this one situation that has shown up in multiple different ways, because all this time, God's source energy has been like, come on. And Saturn's like, come on. So this is like the culmination of that. And Scorpio is going to help like bring it to you. So don't run away from it. You know, you have all these beautiful aspects to help you actually get through it. And you know, again, I have like two or three Scorpio friends, and it's funny because we go in and out of friendships. It's like we're always there, but we don't talk a lot. But when we do, it's always deep, and there's always something that is important to discuss. And when you walk away from that, you miss the whole point. So don't walk away from your Scorpio friends, and definitely don't walk away from the Scorpio full moon. Um, so again, I'm just going to say a couple things, and I wanted to not let this go over a half hour, and I'm about at a half hour. So just remain optimistic, okay? Maybe if I were you, I might think a little bit about your deepest lessons from 2020, and then ask yourself, what did I learn? How can I share? How can I grow? What can I contribute? And then really drop into the subtler realms. And by that, I mean meditate, pray, journal, be quiet, cleanse, purge, go along with the energy because this is Scorpio, right? Purge, cleanse, plunge is good too. Plunge, cleanse, purify, like just clean out so that when this, whatever it is, comes to you, you're like, I've been waiting. Thank you for your service. So I think that's about it. Just remember to remain optimistic. We have this, beautiful Mars aspect too, and Jupiter. So stay in that realm of optimism, and don't overreact about anything at all. Just don't overreact. Okay. So, gosh, that was fun. I tried to stay on track. I wrote notes. I said, don't distract yourself. I think I did okay. One thing I will say is that, again, none of this may mean anything to you. So if you want to look at your chart and see kind of where everything sits and how everything works with what's going on in the universe now, you can reach out to me. Would love to read your chart. I also do a training every year on yoga and astrology. So that comes up, I think, in September. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Otherwise, love on this full moon. Do your puja, put your crystals out, drop in deep, and reach out if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. In the meantime, have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for listening. Take good care. Ta ta for now.